A Brooklyn officer who was in charge of reviewing use of force cases is fired for using excessive force.
Meanwhile, Stein is standing over her, keeping her shoulders pinned back.
The police officer strapped me to a chair and held me down, while one large police officer crushed my feet with his boots. I was in a lot of pain, and I did not have shoes on.
Get off my foot now! Get off my foot now!
In a matter of seconds, this Parma woman went from being a suspect to a potential assault victim.
A former Brooklyn, Ohio police sergeant has been fired, arrested, and charged after the incident where he punched a handcuffed woman who was inside of a restraint chair in the face several times, repeatedly stepped on her foot while she was barefooted with his boots and put all of his weight on it. And you would think that the cops around watching would help, but they did not. And this is not his first incident.
After 18 years with the Brooklyn Police Department, a sergeant with a six-figure salary has now been terminated. Last fall, Brooklyn's mayor fired Sergeant Paul Stein for an incident that happened on September 4th. An internal investigation found he struck a woman 5 times in the face while her hands were cuffed behind her back. Stein's been in the news before. 19 Investigates broke the story about an incident that occurred on April 30th. Juan Wyckoff was driving an I-90, and he says Stein's truck hit his car, then sped off at more than 100 miles an hour.
These are the type of incidents, when we see them, we need to start holding police departments accountable, because these cops are telling us they're dangerous long before they hurt someone.
I'm like, he literally just tried to run me off the highway and kept going.
At the time, Wyckoff didn't know Stein was an off-duty cop on his way to work. Wyckoff grabbed his cell phone and he followed the truck and recorded it driving erratically. When the two arrived at the police station, Wyckoff followed Stein to the employee entrance. That's when surveillance video captured the officer aggressively pushing Wyckoff away and kicking his leg.
Or when it's assault on camera, not a crime. It makes no sense, because if I would have defended myself, I wouldn't have been able to talk to nobody.
You think you'd be behind bars?
If not worse.
Wyckoff wanted to press charges, but after police investigated, Stein only received a traffic citation and a written reprimand. That all changed this past September when police arrested a woman on an outstanding warrant for aggravated menacing. The report states she was intoxicated, acting uncooperative and belligerent, so officers cuffed her hands behind her back and decided to place her in a restraint chair. The report says Stein stepped on her feet to stop her from kicking. She said his boots were hurting her, so she told him to get off. When he didn't, the woman spat directly into his face. The report says Stein slapped her left cheek with an open hand, then he punched her left jaw 3 times. When another officer grabbed his right arm, Stein switched hands and struck her with his left fist. The chief wrote, "I believe this incident rises to the level of malfeasance, intentional conduct that is wrong or unlawful." He called the punches excessive and egregious. During Stein's pre-disciplinary hearing, he prepared a statement saying, "My objective was not to harm the subject, but to stop her from spitting at me again."
I don't condone anyone spitting on someone. It's disgusting. But we must remember, he was standing on top of her foot and she had on no shoes, placing all of his weight on her foot, and she was screaming in pain. That was all she could do to defend herself.
Get off my foot now! Get off my foot now!
In a matter of seconds, this Parma woman went from being a suspect to a potential assault victim. She asked us to conceal her identity.
It was hard to believe that that was actually me.
She was punched in the face repeatedly by a Brooklyn police officer. Now she's breaking her silence.
But I've had nightmares that I feel like stem from everything that I've seen and that has happened to me.
The trauma.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
The officer is Paul Stein, a sergeant who has since been fired. 19 Investigates obtained this exclusive body cam footage from Brooklyn police. It shows how it all happened.
It is very difficult for me to watch the video that Channel 19 News aired.
On September 4th, police arrested the woman on an outstanding warrant for aggravated menacing. They say she was belligerent and uncooperative with officers. Video shows 7 officers immediately surround her when she arrives. They strap her ankles to a restraint chair. Her hands are already cuffed behind her back. Meanwhile, Stein is standing over her, keeping her shoulders pinned back.
The police officers strapped me to a chair and held me down while one large police officer crushed my feet with his boots. I was in a lot of pain and I did not have shoes on.
Video appears to show Stein using his full weight to stand on the woman's stocking feet. We obtained the department's restraint chair policy. It doesn't authorize standing on a suspect's feet. In fact, it doesn't mention it at all. You can hear the woman hollering at Stein several times to get off.
You're hurting me. Get off my feet.
But when Stein doesn't budge, she spits in his face. That's when video shows the sergeant delivering a series of punches to her head. Police documented her bruises. The woman saw the video for the first time on 19 News. She has since hired attorney Keith Hansbrough. She now plans to sue both the police department and Paul Stein. During Stein's pre-disciplinary hearing, he prepared a statement saying, "My objective was not to harm the subject, but to stop her from spitting at me again." He said, "I believe that the force I used was reasonable." Stein claimed the strikes were not delivered with a high degree of force and the suspect wasn't harmed. But reports show the woman did have lacerations to her lip and bruising to her jawline. Officers took photos to document her injuries, but we can't show you who she is since she's now considered an assault victim. At the end of his statement, Stein jotted down these handwritten notes. They read, "Undergoing counseling, on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and under pressure since the traffic incident." Stein was terminated on September 17th.
So this former Sergeant Stein was fired. He was charged. But tell me, do you think this charge is enough?
The police chief investigated and terminated Stein. In February, a special prosecutor charged him with misdemeanor assault. Stein has since pleaded not guilty.
You think he should have been charged with something more serious?
A felony.
A felony?
Yes.
We reached out to Stein and his attorney for comment, but we haven't heard back. The city and police department didn't respond to our questions about the restraint chair policy. Stein's pretrial hearing is set for March 2nd. The woman's attorney plans to file his lawsuit sometime this summer.
So he was fired and he was charged with a misdemeanor. But let's not forget the hit and run, which is also another misdemeanor, or the assault charges when he was pushing the driver of that hit and run, the guy he hit and ran from, and ran directly to the police department. Well, that driver who followed him, he assaulted that guy simply because the guy was trying to get his information to report the accident. This officer, this former sergeant, was a nuisance. And it's a good thing he's off the department, but there's no doubt he was only charged with the misdemeanor so that he can go to another department and get another job with a different department. This is policing in America. Make sure you know your rights and stay safe. With that being said, we the people, you, signing off.